And you know what's funny? Last week because last week on the podcast, you talked about the belt whipping.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I had just watched it. I just had watched that clip, right? And But I couldn't share the experience of getting beaten with a belt. No.
You didn't, right?
No,
Really?
I never did, no.
But you're from Saskatchewan. Would you get hit with a Pilsner?
No, they brand their children.
Come here, you little...
Get over here.
By the way,
It was not a belt.
I had to Google the black elk. I had to Google it.
Yeah.
Because remember you said trivia.
Yes.
Can you find the black elk on the Pilsner
I knew
can?
you Googled it. I knew you cheated.
I had to. I didn't cheat.
cheated.
I just utilized my resources. I don't cheat. Okay.
Is that cheating,
No, we'll
Mitch?
get into that. He cheats, buddy.
I do not
Googling
cheat.
is
100%.
Oh, come
cheating.
on, you guys.
That's cheating.
Do you know the black elk in the Pilsner can?
I do not know.
I'm not going to give it up.
No.
Okay. I had to utilize my intraweb resources.
Yeah.
I finally figured it out. But there is a black elk on the Pilsner
It's a
can.
myth. It's a myth in the bars. People talk about it, and it's a myth.
Yeah, but I got it now.
Oh, you got it now.
Yeah.
I got it. You can look for it. You'll find it.
I'll find it. All right.
Challenge. What
Challenge.
do we challenge?
How about I just go by it?
What's the challenge?
Yeah. You're the guest.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
What are
Giving
you
me the
yelling at
challenge.
my guy for? You're the guest. What is this? A little aggressive.
Sorry, I get nervous around people.
Mitch yells. Mitch actually yells at people. It's crazy. You're not
I
safe.
feel like I don't know when I'm off work or not.
So yeah, what's the challenge?
Yeah,
What'll
what's
be
the
the
challenge?
Okay, so like you Pilsner.
Yeah.
I'm from Saskatchewan. It's the what would you call it?
Fountain of
youth. It's the beer of Saskatchewan folk.
Absolutely.
Like whether you like it or not, you have to. It's written into the constitution
Right.
of the province that you need to drink X amount of Pilsner per day or week or whatever it is. Right?
That's-
I believe
Yeah,
it.
it's not a great health promotion thing, but you have to drink enough beer just to support the Saskatchewan economy. I'm
I love
sure of
this.
it.
I'm positive you're positive.
On the can, there is a black elk.
There's a black elk.
It does exist.
It exists.
You just have to find it.
I'm gonna find it. So it's like finding Waldo, but finding a black elk.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
Just
Except
like
more
Waldo.
difficult.
Yeah. It's. You know what?
Well,
leave
we
it at-
could
but if
do-
he finds so what's his time limit?
10 minutes.
Okay, he's got to look at it 10 minutes.
Yeah, I say you do it in studio.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
Next podcast.
Next- studio.
Yeah, but don't go on the internet.
Yeah. No, I won't.
Don't cheat.
No, I won't.
I mean, don't use your resources.
Okay, I got it. I
Don't
will
do it,
find
Dimitri
it. Done. And the winner has to buy the other guy a 12-pack of
Pilsner.
Pilsner.
There you go. Right
There you go.
It only
is.
makes sense.
Bum. Done.
Finished.
Supporting the Saskatchewan economy.
There you go.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Welcome to podcast number 14 of Real Locker Room Talk. Boom. And you've heard already the Pilsner talk. Who is that? Well, it's not Mitch. It's not Dimitri.
Wasn't me.
So it's got to be Dr. Ryan Todd.
Our special guest today. Could we get like a clap thingy?
That'd be great. But welcome, Dr. Ryan
Thank
Todd.
you. Thank you. Very, very excited to be here.
The whole time I'm going to call you Dr. Ryan Todd. The whole time.
You don't have to.
I'd like to.
What would you like to be
Dimitri,
called?
yes, you have to call me Doctor.
Yes, I agree. He
Mitch, you
should.
can call me whatever.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You would love that, hey? I'm already thinking this was a bad idea. I know a few doctors, okay? And maybe I should have got... Does it make you feel bad that your wife's a better doctor than you are?
Define better.
Great point. Actually, I can't.
That's
It
why
is
I
in
know
the
he's
eye
a
of the
doctor. He's
beholder.
already making me think. He's like, he's so smart.
Well, yeah,
He
we-
outsmarted us in 2 seconds.
We got Dr. Ryan Todd here in the studio. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having
Dr.
me.
Ryan Todd, just really quick. I'll do it. I'll do Dr. Ryan Todd the whole time, but just really brief before we get in, but your specialty, what you practice.
Yeah, so I'm a psychiatrist. I see a lot of athletes, mostly athletes in my practice, for any issue. I mean, and we'll talk about this, we'll get into some of this, but athletes have mental health issues just like everyone else does. So I see a lot of issues around post-concussion, substance, garden variety, kind of depression, anxiety, performance issues. But I work almost exclusively with athletes of all levels, from high school to elite athletes and professional athletes, and that's what my practice is.
That's awesome.
That's
really
awesome.
cool.
And
That's exciting.
also, Ryan, you're affiliated with something else over here. This is really big, real locker room talk news. Because guess what, Mitch?
What's that?
We got a website.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
We got a website. Yeah, see, you pay, I deliver.
Yeah,
right?
apparently.
Yeah,
Yeah,
don't
that's
worry.
what it is.
Keep paying Jeff in the studio
Yeah,
time,
exactly.
right? But
Yeah.
I'll deliver. So, Ryan, you're also part of Macromind Media, okay? And please tell us a little bit about that.
So yeah, I'm the president and one of the founders of Macromind Media. So Macromind Media is a full suite e-learning company. So we do everything from curriculum development to media production to making e-learning platforms for large organizations that want them. If anyone, any group wants to teach about mental health to their stakeholders, to their customers, to their employees. We build them customized resources for that. And we were fortunate enough to work with Real Locker Room Talk in designing their website and getting that up and running.
Well, you guys did a fantastic job.
Yeah,
it is excellent. And for everyone listening, when we upload this podcast, it is up, live, and running. It's
Nice.
www.reallockerroomtalk.com. That's how you know we're serious, because we get .coms.
We got the .com.
Not orgs, not
org.
nets,
Not CA.
No.
not CAs, comms, because we're global. Let me tell you how global we are.
Yeah.
And this website's going to even globalize us even more.
From the sounds of it, this is
The
just the tip of
internet
the
is
iceberg.
And I want to introduce to you
Yes.
the very first
Go ahead.
Macromind Media metrics of the week.
Oh, I like that. That's hot.
It is huge. It's not micromind, it's macromind. That means we're dealing with minds that are bigger than the normal
Bigger than
person.
the norm, exactly.
Our website is professional by professional people. Macromind Media. Mitch, if I were to tell you that we broke over 900 downloads of our podcast, would you believe me?
We didn't break it before. I guess.
Well,
All right. Well, yes, I'm impressed.
We got 66 Twitter followers.
Boom.
Boom. Over 400 on Instagram.
Get out.
345 plus on the discussion group.
That discussion group is taking off.
It
man.
is
where
blowing
it's
up.
at.
It
Yeah,
is
that's where it's
huge.
at.
It is a force to be reckoned with.
That's got to be like one of your best things you've ever performed
In life.
You have a beautiful daughter, and the discussion board are like your top two things.
Great.
Just so you know.
Yeah, just life achievements.
Your wife still is trying to figure out that lock to get out of that room, but that's besides the point.
You know what?
right?
I told you never bring up the fact that I locked my wife in the house. Okay? We're a
you know,
happy
it's-
marriage.
yeah.
Can I tell you a funny thing that happened?
Sure.
All jokes aside.
All right.
So our daughter, not just mine, I guess it's both of ours, but Calliope, okay?
it
That's
takes
her
two,
name.
yeah.
She's playing with the phone. What happened on the phone? Starts dialing some numbers, right? And then we hang it up. Well, a minute later, we get a call back.
Oh, no.
Calgary Police Service.
No.
Now, my daughter's just over 7 months years old. Hi, is everything okay, right? And I'm like, Tamara, you better tell him what we talked about. No, but anyways, yeah, she phoned the police service, and by protocol, we had to stay on the line with her while the cop came to our house.
No.
Right.
Came in, everything okay, slipped him a 20, life's good,
Done.
he left, no. But it was 40. But anyways.
And we all know that's a lie because
So,
you don't have 40 bucks.
Yeah, exactly.
When do the
But
lies end?
here's what's something really funny, because we looked at the caller ID. She didn't dial 911. We're like, how did this happen? So the lady on the dispatch told me that some phones have a safety feature that if you button mash, it goes right to your local police.
Really?
So be careful when you're button mashing.
I'm always
Okay.
button mashing.
But
But
Ryan,
then, yeah.
I'm sorry, Dr. Ryan Todd? No,
that's better.
No.
That's hilarious. So, wicked week of sports this week. Tons of things happening. Wild card weekend for football. We'll get into
Unbelievable.
football talk a little bit later, but we are going to talk about the other things. We'll talk about the wild card playoffs in our football segment, but let's talk a little bit about just because the Bills broke my heart again. In all honesty, you guys, but didn't they lose exactly like how they should have lost? Like they tumbled into the playoffs, and then they lose the way they did.
Terrible.
Are you a big NFL? Are you a Bills fan? It sounds like you're a little heartbroken like I am.
Well, what I'm wondering listening to this podcast is, are you a Bills fan?
Me, no, I'm a Packers fan.
He's been
You're a
right.
Packers
I
fan.
know,
Yeah,
right? He's
it's
had
tough
this
to
thing
tell.
for the
But the
Bills.
Bills-
It's been tough to tell, Mitch.
You know, any team that has fans that will allow themselves to break themselves onto tables,
Yeah, that's
I'm a big fan.
for sure. That's so admirable.
Yeah.
And light them on fire, I might add. You know, like they're not just doing it easily; they're doing it with
You
a
know,
little pizzazz.
you know who missed out was the WWE. They missed out on this opportunity. They should have supplied official WWE tables.
They've
Absolutely.
broken their fair share of tables.
A Bills match. Oh my God, Bills rules.
Oh,
Huge.
that'd
You're
be
welcome,
big.
Vince.
Motorhomes,
Yeah,
face
absolutely.
paint,
Wow.
I love it.
tons of booze. There's been some vicious.
So basically, a
table
normal
smashes.
WWE episode. Is really what you're gonna tell me.
Just run of the mill. Yeah.
No, I love it. I mean, it's sad, but you know what? What killed me is so they tumble into the playoffs,
Yeah.
right? Andy Dalton gets them basically
Yeah.
into the playoffs, and
Yeah.
he plays for Cincinnati. So there's that thing. They go into the game, 4th and goal, and they go for it. The Jags are like, you know what? You guys can have the ball in the one. Worst case scenario, right? And they throw the ball and they score the touchdown. Then their quarterback gets hurt. He gets hurt, second last play of the game or third last. And they put Peterman in, right? And me and Dimitri were joking around. What? Let's go through the discussion. I'll be the coach. You be Peterman.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, buddy. Listen. We
Okay.
got 3 plays maximum. We need to score a touchdown.
Got it.
Look at me when I'm talking to you.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
Listen. All I need you to do is one thing and one thing only.
You got it, coach.
Do not throw the ball to the other team.
So you want me to go there and throw the ball to the other team?
Again, you're not looking at me.
Sorry.
You're not looking at me.
Okay, sorry. I saw
Put
a
the
table.
clipboard down.
Okay, it's
Put it
down.
down.
It's
Okay.
down. Gotcha.
We're going to win this game, right?
I want to.
Done. Okay. Get out there. You win this for the Gipper.
Okay. So
Done.
all I got to do is just not throw it to the other team.
At this moment, I think the coach has taken off his headphones and everything, and he's like unbuckling his pants, and he's like, "I'm out of here," kind of thing, right?
Is this not
And what
the
does he do?
worst?
First pass, nice pass,
Not
looks
bad.
good. Second pass, intercept.
And you know in the head, no, and you know in the headset, he's like, "Good job, Peterman." Like we talked about, don't. Peterman, no, he's gone rogue. Like, who is this guy? 6 interceptions on like 19 plays. I don't even know how many throws he has.
It's unbelievable.
You know what I love about that Bills game? You're watching at the end of the first half.
Yeah.
Buffalo is down in the red zone, and then through penalties and plays, they get down to even like the 3-yard line. I've never seen a team come so close to scoring, and then all of a sudden they get pushed back from their own penalties
That's right.
outside of field goal
It's
range.
unbelievable.
It was
Classic Bills.
It
Classic.
is.
Like
Classic
it
Bills,
had
is it
to
not?
end that way. You had to wait over 20 years for a playoff and get 3 points. Like it had to, after that many heartbreaks, after that many smashed tables, head injuries, diving off motorhomes, it had to be 3 points.
Quick
Right.
question:
It
Are
had
you
to
going to
be.
pick up your practice and go to Buffalo? It sounds like there could be a lot.
There's
of
there's a lot of work there. A lot of work to be
a
done.
lot of work to be done there. Correct?
Yeah.
I think you might be onto something here. This is big.
Yeah.
Do you have franchises? Maybe we can get into a franchise. here.
Yeah, do you have to be an actual doctor to get a franchise from you? Can we set up shop? Like Real Locker Room MD? Can it work? I
Real
don't know.
locker room docs.
You know what? He's
Yeah.
yeah. See?
Yeah.
Hey, there
yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
That's
Thanks,
not.
Jeff.
That's a nice point. Yeah, let's talk.
Look into
Jeff.
that. You know what? Look
Let's
into
you
that.
and me.
Look into that. The next big topic that came about is this week. There's been a little bit of turmoil with the Patriots.
Interesting.
We got
Interesting.
you got Mr. Belichick, Mr. Kraft, and Mr. MVP, our most
Angel of the Lord
angel,
himself.
Tommy Brady.
So this
And
show is pro Brady.
we love the Brady.
I think the Globe is pro Brady.
it's not.
Yeah.
We're just Brady, not New England.
Yeah, just Brady.
Okay.
What's not to like about him?
No, I agree. He's a great looking guy. I mean, he's so well spoken. He just threw cold water on the whole discussion this week, like some magician.
Yeah,
And if you've seen Ted 2, you know he's got golden junk.
yeah, it's crazy. TV doesn't lie. That's
No,
real.
that was
a
Mark,
real.
Yeah, TV
Mark
Apparently,
Wahlberg
that
and
was a-
Ted snuck in. They had to. I mean, that was quite
That
the
was
caper
crazy.
they got themselves
Well,
into.
the big controversy is that
Yeah.
they are saying that Tom somehow got Garofalo out of here, right? They said, get him out of here. I can last till I'm 70 is basically the whole premise.
Yeah.
He's got this guru guy, this
Yeah.
Guerrero, Alex Guerrero, kind of backing him up, helping him write
Yeah.
that book and the whole mantra of how this gentleman kind of runs his life, which seems to be working. And
Yeah.
I guess Belichick's like, no, I do not like what this guy's doing. He's coming into my locker room. This is my sanctuary. I don't want him here.
Right.
So I don't know. What do you guys do? You think who's in the right here? If you had to take a side right now, do you take Belichick or do you take Brady? I already know where you're going. Dr. Ryan Todd, go ahead.
Where are you going, Dimitri? I mean, you can't argue with either one of them. The results have been just incredible that they produced. And in this salary cap era, to have a dynasty, which is near impossible for the two of them, and arguably you can put Kraft in there and say the three of them, and like obviously the supporting team, but for them to orchestrate what they have in the past number of years, it's been unstoppable.
Yeah.
So how do you pick a side there? And
But
and
doesn't
they
it
both
have
know
to-
that. They both know that. All three of them know that. They're not going anywhere. They have too much of a good thing.
Absolutely.
And they might still have some legs out of Brady.
I agree. That my standpoint is I think this was blown completely out of proportion. They're teammates, you know, like anyone else. They're going to fight just like every other teammate is. And they'll have discrepancies with either the way they do business. I mean, I don't know whose side I'm realistically going to take because as a coach, it is your dressing room. As a player, you know, sometimes organizations, they don't give you every single tool, right, that they need inside. So if this has made Brady a better player, then he has to exercise it. But at the end of the day, these guys are competitors. Whether they're fighting or not, I'm not worried. Brady's not going to sit here and say, I'm going to tank the season in the playoffs because I'm upset with you. And Belichick the same. These guys are going to go out and win the Super Bowl. You know, odds are, I mean, they're favored to win the Super Bowl. Like, I'm not saying they're going to, but they're competitors, and that comes first.
You know what? I'm gonna jump on this. I'm gonna tell you guys. I'm on Belichick's side.
Okay.
Bottom line, this is a place of business.
Sure.
And Brady is
Don't
one of
disagree.
the employees, and he's the manager. You want to look at it that way.
Yeah.
And he's saying, hey, dude, we've won championships this way. We've won the title, the NFC title, or pardon me, the AFC East this many times. At the end of the day, this Guerrero guy's causing some sort of riff in his mind.
Yeah.
You ask him to leave. You get, not so much get rid of Brady. I'm saying if this
Time and
guy,
place,
if
I
this
think, is
Guerrero
what it
guy's
is.
in the locker rooms all the time and doing whatever he's doing, I'm with Belichick, and I'm like, you know what, buddy? This is my realm until they tell me it's not anymore. Get out of here. Because at the end of the day, Brady's 39, I think, right? 38, 39
Yes,
years
39.
old. He's only got a couple more years left, realistically. He
In
might
his mind, though, he thinks he's playing till late 50s.
Yeah,
He
no,
might.
it's true. But
Yeah.
realistically speaking, I mean, even Kraft, I think, is going to turn around and say, hey, you know what? And I'm curious to see, being that you talk with sports athletes, does he truly believe he can go to that?
100%.
Really?
Yeah. And in my experience with athletes, I mean, athletes are trained to do one thing, and that's focus on your sport for as long as you can until the second that you don't have to. So one of the issues I continually deal with athletes is transitioning out of sport, which is such a difficult task because the training of being an athlete actually fights against that. Really? So I truly believe that Brady thinks he can play until someone says, look, you can't play.
But these pro athletes, don't they kind of just, I know a lot of them say they don't read the media or they don't read the news or whatever, but they must know that they have a time slot. Do they not? Or do they truly, they really do believe they can go forever?
I think Brady in particular thinks he could go
You're
forever.
probably totally right,
Yeah,
actually.
I think he could go
He's a
forever.
doctor. Of course he's right, you idiot. What do you mean? You're probably right.
Hey, it's Dr. Ryan Todd to you. Okay? Don't you forget where you come from, you peasant. Anyways. So sorry, you know what? You told me to be myself around him.
Yeah, I did, but
get a
it's
little
just
mad.
aggressive. You're so nervous.
I
He's
do.
like, what kind of guy is he?
I know, I did
Is he
ask. I was
joking?
like, can I joke?
Yeah, he did some
with it? Can we
recon.
joke around?
He even went on your, if you go to your LinkedIn, I bet there's a search.
Okay, let's talk about cheaters. Speaking of cheaters now. Speaking of cheaters. Did Atlanta cheat by saying earlier in the week, they said that Julio Jones was inactive. Then all of a sudden the guy shows up, 9 catches, 94 yards, with touchdown. Did they put Dimitri and cheat and lie?
First of all, Dimitri doesn't cheat.
Oh, really?
No, he doesn't.
Okay.
No. Dimitri plays within the confines of the rules.
It's all over Instagram. You full cheated. You took my picks and you went directly against them.
I did not cheat. No,
I thought we covered this last week.
We
Phil.
did,
Thank you.
but
If
I
you're
just
not
want
cheating, you're not trying.
Yeah, see,
And you're
you. You know what?
modifying
You
it.
really do listen. Good for him.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I told you. Thank you. Okay,
I thought we were over this. This is going to turn into couples counseling
I
very
thought
quickly.
so too. And that's
why you
why
brought
you're
me
here.
in?
And that's why you're here. We're not sure how far the podcast
Jeff,
is
we're going to
going.
need to turn it off now.
I'm starting to notice that this is a me problem.
Mitch, when Dimitri called you a cheater, did you feel hurt?
I did, actually.
How did that make you feel, Dimitri?
I thought it was justified. I just feel sometimes that I
Dimitri, why are you crying right now? Why is this so emotional? For
really
you?
happy.
I love
Going
you,
back,
Mitch.
that's a BS move, saying that he's inactive and then bringing him inactive. I'll tell you why it's a BS move on a couple things. Number one, to fool the teams like that, not cool. But number two, you have an obligation to the media as well,
Absolutely.
right? And the media is there. They got a job to do. You have to work with them. It's part of organized professional sports. I thought this was more of a diss to the media and all the people and the lack of respect they have for the reporting and everything. And the other thing, Vegas. You messed up Vegas.
You messed up Vegas. And if you're fooling around with Vegas,
Oh.
now you're totally... That's why Atlanta...
Vegas is choked.
A lot of people are liking Atlanta to go to the Super Bowl, so I'm a little upset with them right now. I'm just a little...
It was a bad maneuver.
Because they've been playing around and I don't like it.
You can only
at
do
all.
that once. That's a move you do once.
You know what? And that's the thing. But do other teams now use it? You know what I mean? Do other teams are like, oh, you know what? Brady's not playing this week.
I hope not.
Whatever.
Yeah, and
Like,
as
they
per-
mess
yeah.
up the whole thing doing stuff like that, man. It's crazy. The one thing I want to talk about is we don't talk. We're going to be talking more about it going into it. But the NHL right now is in the mid-season point.
Yes.
And the Las Vegas Knights somehow,
bless this
somewhere,
team.
Unbelievable.
is second best in the entire league. Tampa Bay number one.
Yeah.
Las Vegas Knights at 60
Yeah.
points. No one can believe it. It's amazing. I love it. I think it's such a.
I got to
great
tell you, I
story.
watched them play the other night, and what a game! It was such. I can't remember. It'll come to me who they were playing. It was 2-1. They won 2-1. But watching this team play, they're fast. and they are organized, and the chemistry is excellent. But they're getting great goaltending from Marc-Andre. Not even just Marc-Andre Fleury. Anyone who goes in net for them, it seems like they're getting goaltending.
Yeah, and that's number one for them, right? They built the team. Imagine if they had taken some draft picks instead of the full roster that they could get.
That's true.
They turned over some of especially the Anaheim Mighty Ducks defensemen because they couldn't protect all their players.
Right.
This is a team that could have been better this year. Like they are. It's just such a, what I think is interesting, like the psychology behind a team and setting the expectations of how you should do as a team. Mm-hmm. I think that this is a true like case study of a team dynamic and how it can work. Because these guys were not expected to win, and their stars were not expected to be stars. Like Neil was not supposed to be the top scorer on any team.
Marchessault?
Yeah, and they've always been kind of second line forwards, and they go to this team and they're told, "Look, you are the superstar.
Yeah,
if we want to win, you're going to have to put the puck in the net." And they rose to that occasion. So I think it's an amazing story, and it's a great case study in like a team dynamic and how you can succeed.
Absolutely.
With that.
They're taking the world by fire. Like in all sports, I think. I mean, in the next few years, there's going to be another expansion team that probably comes, probably the Flames. But at the end of the day. It'll be interesting to see if they follow that exact game plan to do
whether the teams in the future are as successful or not. The point is that expansion works. That's the biggest thing, that the NHL proved two things. Number one, a team in Vegas is going to be sustainable. Mm-hmm. Okay, and this is NHL, so we're not talking like wait until the NFL and everyone comes in when you're going to have real big draws now. And number two, the expansion works. You can have players and still come into a league and be competitive. For crying out loud, this is a team that selected, players that they dealt with, gave some away, Dr. Ryan Todd, like you talked about, and the whole show I'm doing it.
That's what I'm talking about.
And on top of it, they're set up for the future with great draft picks. So this is a team that can very, very well compete. They're 3 points out of first spot as it stands right now. It's unbelievable.
It brings up two interesting points for me. One, is it actually sustainable? I'd like to just challenge that a little bit, because I think when you have too much success with the team right away, you get the like classic Atlanta Braves syndrome, right? Where if you don't make the playoffs every year, people aren't going to show up.
Okay.
And like you look at the Bills and also probably the Saskatchewan Roughriders, their teams built on failure, like that pang of like the missed field goal.
Exactly.
It haunts you, and you come to love and know it if you're like a Bills fan or a Rough Riders fan.
Right.
Failure actually like binds the fandom together, and that becomes something, right? And that struggle through sport becomes like the unifying thread of the whole kind of fan base. When you're so successful right away, and like for sure the Las Vegas Golden Knights are going to have some sort of downfall at some point.
Of course.
And I'm wondering if the fans are going to show up then.
That's a great point. I'm curious to see that.
Yeah, I do still think they will, only because it is Las Vegas, and comping hotels, like they'll be able to at least have enough people to sustain it, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see.
But going from Vegas now to Edmonton, just because I'm going to go from the top, we're going to go to the bottom.
What a debacle.
What is going on? 37 points as of I checked last night. And these guys are looking horrible. They're probably going to miss the playoff. They're in free fall.
Yeah.
We were the exclusive, as you probably know, to figure out what had happened in the locker room there. There was a little bit of turmoil, all that stuff. So right before you showed up today, I go to Dimitri. I go,
God,
what do you do? Okay, but hold on. Let me just ask Dr.
Mitch,
Ryan Todd. Maybe he's smarter than both of us. Let me just ask the guy really quickly. Okay, let me just ask the gentleman. He's smarter than both of us.
I'm trying to protect you. Go ahead.
Okay, fine.
Watch your dumb statement. Get ready, everybody. Get ready.
Now watch this. Okay. So you got the Oilers last year. They don't make the Stanley Cup, but they have a great run. This year they were expected to win the Stanley Cup. They're not anywhere near it. They're probably not going to make the playoffs.
Right.
You got Connor McDavid. You had Taylor Hall. You had Eberle. You had Nuge is still on the team, right?
The Nuge is huge.
Okay. Mm-hmm. My question is this. Next year, his contract and Draisaitl take on full effect. They're going to eat up a lot of that contract. Okay. Mm-hmm. Right now, if you're the GM of Edmonton, what's McDavid worth? Like, I'm not saying to trade him, but doesn't it maybe cross your mind in a little bit? And I know McDavid's amazing. I'm just curious what you think. Would it cross a mind going, listen, and I'll tell you this. I never threw this at you because I knew you were gonna like try to down. If Gretzky can get traded, McDavid can get traded. I'm gonna break that to you right now.
Different circumstances.
I agree. However, I'm not saying to trade him. I'm really not.
I'm so
But
speechless.
next year, so this year they don't make the playoffs. Everyone's like, all right, fine, we'll get another draft pick, whatever. Okay? Next year they're in the same situation. Do you maybe look at that opportunity? Here's a guy that's going to bring you a lot of assets. You've proven that the draft pick is not doing anything for you. You can't do anything with them.
Right.
You had Taylor Hall. You had Nuge. You had this guy. Nothing. Yakupov.
Nothing's
happened.
I didn't think that Kevin Lowe could be the worst GM or doing anything for the Oilers. And then you stepped along.
Okay, but
are you saying trade McDavid?
What's
the matter with
I've
you?
reiterated that 100 times. I said, don't.
Then what are you
I'm
bringing
just,
up,
I'm
Mitch?
just asking
what's your
Dr.
word?
Ryan Todd what would happen.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You know what? He heard my question. I don't need to repeat it. You just sit there and look.
Do you know how
pretty.
many shaking
Just sit
heads?
there.
Do you know how many-
I'm just.
I'll shut up.
What's he
Go
worth?
ahead, Red.
What's he
Go
worth?
ahead.
What's
Go
he
ahead.
worth?
Go
I'm
ahead.
just throwing it out there.
I mean, he's worth whatever the hell he wants to be worth.
Yeah, that's
right.
right.
He goes to the table and says, "I want X amount of dollars, the entire budget of the Edmonton Oilers," and they say, "Sure," because like there's no return that you can get on a McDavid.
You don't think any other team could offer you a
Like
top-notch
what, Mitch?
goalie?
Like what?
And
Y-
I don't know.
Here,
Like,
here,
that's what I'm trying to
go,
figure
let's
out.
go to the New Jersey Devils again. We'll do that trade and say, "Hey, we're going to give you we'll give you our entire first line and our top 2 goalies,
Right.
and our whole training staff, our team doctor.
At
We'll give you
75 in cash.
we'll give you season tickets."
I'm liking
Right?
this so far.
Yeah.
I'm liking this trade. Continue. No, and the reason, but look at Golden Knights. We just talked
Can I ask
about
you a
how a
question?
bunch of guys are winning.
They've been down that road,
You,
though.
Kevin Lowe, and Jay Feaster. Is that going to be your management crew?
You know
Is
what?
gonna
That
be your
sounds
management
pretty good
What
to
a
me.
winning
I'm not
squad.
gonna-
What can you
Oh.
get outside of Crosby?
Oh my
Like, because
God.
Crosby still is the best
You-
player.
you-
Outside of Crosby is Connor McDavid. What else can you
Okay,
get?
but
What are
okay,
you
here,
going to get for him?
let's go back to Pittsburgh for one quick second. They're not playing well right now.
Mitch, don't do this to
I'm just
yourself.
asking.
Don't bring this
Do you
stuff
not
up.
bring up-
Trade Crosby.
Do you not,
No.
buddy?
That's a low blow.
I'm just saying.
You slipped
I'm just
on
saying.
ice. You slipped on
You
ice.
know what? I'm just curious what these guys.
We have a
are
doctor. Luckily, we have a doctor.
Let me ask you this.
We're talking
Did we,
about.
Did we not
this
have
isn't
a
a
player?
joke, but
Hold on
we're
a second.
talking about
Did
mental
we
health
not have a-
issues, and you, my friend, are the first case study right here because you're not right.
Did we
You're
not have a
right.
player? Hold on a second. Did we not have a player here
This
in
is not
Calgary?
fantasy
Did we
hockey.
not have a player here in Calgary
Yes.
that overstepped his line? Like he stayed here a little too long, and we got nothing for him in the end. Yes or no?
Who are you talking about?
Iggy?
Iggy. There you go.
We got Jankowski.
Iggy's good. Iggy was great. Iggy was
Iggy
the
was great. I
franchise
love
for
Iggy. I
years.
got no problem with it.
Was he Connor McDavid?
No,
Come on, that's what I'm
absolutely not.
saying.
I
No.
agree.
There's
guys.
nothing in return that you could get for a Connor McDavid that would be equivocal.
Mitch, move
or
on to
make
the
your
next
team
topic.
better.
I'm done talking about this.
Yeah.
My blood pressure's rising.
His
I want-
gout, his gout's flaring.
I'm gonna get
Yeah,
gout
his
again.
gout's flaring.
I'm gonna get gout again. We don't want that.
Have you ever heard of gout the way it's been forming on him? Like leg, shoulder, ear, whatever the hell's going on with this guy?
The shoulder's the bursitis. Okay?
Yeah, buddy,
What?
you said
Maybe
it.
we
I
should
know,
go into
no.
counseling 'cause we
You know
don't
what?
listen.
You know what?
Shut
You're
up.
not. You shut up.
can't
I'm
believe-
telling
I
you
can't
right
believe
now.
Ryan brought
You said
a
originally to
camera
me,
in and
Mitch.
it's on
I
you
think
and
it's
your
gout
ugly
on.
mug. It's awesome.
You know what? You sir.
I'm sorry for calling you
are
ugly. That was
you're-
too far. I
exactly.
apologize.
You
I
know I'm
apologize.
pretty. You know I'm
yes,
pretty.
Yes, you're a good-looking man.
Thank you. Okay,
move on from this
last
topic.
thing. Last we're going to talk, and then I really want to get into the topic with
Yes.
Dr. Ryan Todd because I am loving where this is going. This week, Oprah decided to get on stage and do a crazy platform.
Yeah.
Right?
Golden Globes.
Golden Globes.
She's
right.
killed it. I thought she did an
killed
amazing
it.
job.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Was it not amazing?
I
Like,
thought it was phenomenal.
there's only been another time
powerful.
where I've seen somebody like take it over like that, right? And it was Barack Obama, I believe, before he was the president. I remember him getting up at the Democratic convention and he ripped it up. And I said to myself, this dude's going to be the next president of the United States. I now am saying this about Oprah. But what I'm saying now in a sports-related thing is I want Oprah to team up with The Rock. People were talking about The Rock. People were talking about Oprah individually.
Right.
What happens if Oprah and The Rock merge together as the greatest tag team, the greatest duo of all time? You tell me if they couldn't. Are those two people?
They would be the most electrifying presidential candidates in all of history.
Who's going to touch you? And then I'm pushing it to the point where I want Ric Flair to stay alive to be the press secretary. Imagine him getting up on stage and Ric Flair telling everybody, like doing one of his epic things, like, Dimitri, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely, right. Yeah, he'd be like, right now the president's a jet flying. North Korea wheeling dealing, son of a woo!
Can you imagine what would happen?
That is
world
the greatest
would love-
thing you've ever. I can't believe we were fighting 2 seconds
Yeah.
ago because now you look like a genius.
Thank you, thank
I'm
you.
sorry I questioned your mental health, but you look like a genius.
Thank you so much.
So The Rock
and Oprah.
That's huge.
You tell me, and I'm being serious. I have a picture of them. I formed something together. It's gonna go. I want us
You've
to
created their platform.
I think
You're
I
ready
think
to
we're
go
onto
with this.
something here because
I'd get
people were
citizenship
talking
just to
about them
vote.
individually. They were saying,
Yeah.
"Oh, Oprah's gonna go," blah blah blah. Put them together, man. And if the states has proved us anything or shown us anything,
Yeah.
it's simply that Donald Trump can win just based on media. The Kardashians are number one rated on TV.
Right.
You take Oprah. You take The Rock with his mic skills. Oprah is very
my
comfortable in the
goodness,
camera.
man.
Is this not the greatest tag team we can form here?
You know what? How about global leaders? Just put them as
This is it.
the first leaders
Yeah.
of the world.
Of the world.
Of the world.
Of the
Look,
world.
New
VP
World
and P,
Order, all
yeah,
that.
yeah.
You know what? Let the conspiracies be true. I don't care. Okay? Get them up there.
I'm just
I'll
excited
accept
about
it.
Ric Flair being the press secretary. That's,
That would be
that's my
unreal.
big
That
thing
would
right
be
now.
unreal. Just report it.
It'd just be unbelievable.
Woo!
And who's going to fight against them? Like, could you imagine?
No way.
Let's say they decide to go together.
Sure.
So Oprah takes it. I'm just
Yeah.
going to sit on this for one more second, and then we're out of here.
As long as you
They
want.
sit on
I
it for a
love
second.
it.
And then they go, like, imagine now you're in the debate against Oprah.
Right.
And then Oprah's like, Rock, you take it from here. And he comes out of nowhere with his music, and he, like, puts you through the table.
Yeah.
Or all of a sudden, Rock's stuck in something, and he's like, Oprah, come in. It's an amazing tag team. They can tag each
They
other
would
in
literally
and out.
tag each other in.
Literally
Yeah.
tag each
Yeah.
other in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Oprah just has to look at you,
She's-
to get stuff done.
Oh.
She would just like put her glasses down. You'd be like, you know what? I'm sorry. I really
You won the
apologize.
debate.
She
Yeah.
literally.
This
I
one's
think, yeah,
yours, Oprah.
It's unreal.
Great thought, Mitch.
Now, thank you. And now I want to get to the real stuff. The reason we have the number one guy here, Dr. Ryan Todd, to talk to us
Absolutely.
about the mental illness and all that fun stuff. Well, not fun, actually. Sorry, I don't know. That was a bad segue. Just basically, let's get into this whole topic.
Yeah. All jokes aside, we have fun and we joke around, but what we're talking about right here, actually, this isn't a funny issue whatsoever,
all.
right? And we're actually very, very happy to come on here. And I think what happens is, we watch movies like Concussion and, what we see in day-to-day sports. I mean, the generic sports fan just thinks, okay, concussions is really all we see about it. Okay, it's a concussion. But really, it goes a little bit more into that, Ryan. And I want you to shed some light on it about athletes. And, do they get mental illness, not whether it be from concussions or other factors? And I'll let you kind of take the floor on that.
Yeah, so I mean, I would if athletes did not have or deal with mental health issues, I'd be out of a job pretty quickly. So I see it day in, day out, and just like everyone. And the myth, of course, is that athletes have an armor, right? That they don't. You cannot penetrate that armor, and we build them up to be these people who don't have any affliction whatsoever. Okay. So that's why I love working in the field, is because it normalizes and it humanizes mental illness. And why I like to talk about this issue is because if you can show the world that these gods that we've built them up to be have the same mental illnesses that we all suffer from and that we all deal with, and they can get through it, that shows other people that they can get through it too.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm so passionate about this area, because you can, if you have an athlete who is open and honest and willing to talk about mental health, it gives other people permission to do the same thing.
Now, I got a question for you. Especially in hockey and other sports, but specifically hockey, just because we're Canadian, we know there's that age-old that code. You got to be tough. You can't talk about stuff and blah 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 and all that. Has that started to? Are you breaking that down? Do you feel like that code still exists? That you are constantly going, okay, it's all right to talk to me. It's all right. Because I can imagine 20 years ago, that was probably a wall that no doctor could probably jump over. Yeah. Are you seeing that that's starting to tumble a little bit and people are willingly coming to talk to you? Or are you still fighting through that?
So that's an incredible question. And I think 20 years ago it was worse. I think it's getting better. I think there's so much work to be done in that field. And that's my day-to-day mantra, right, is to get out and talk about it and have people become more comfortable talking about it. So a lot of work in that field to be done, and I think it's getting better. I think.
Where do you think most of the pressure comes from? Like Mitch said, is it coming from inside the locker room, being around the boys and not talking about it, or is it a very individual thing?
Yeah. So I think there's an internal pressure to keep these things quiet. I think there's an external pressure to keep these things quiet. I think a lot of the athletes that I work with, they would tell you that they wouldn't even want to admit to themselves that they're dealing with something. because they maybe it would hurt their performance. Maybe they wouldn't be able to perform the way they wanted to. I think there's an external pressure too, because we put these structures around them to make these people out to be superhuman. We also don't give them permission to talk about these things. I also think sports is it's an escape for people. Like people tune into TSN. We talk about football and hockey and whatever it is because we want to escape from the real life issues. We want some escapism, and bringing in mental health into that form doesn't necessarily give you that opportunity. So I think there's an internal pressure and an external pressure.
Yeah. So what is your involvement in terms of, I don't know how far you can go in answering this question specifically, but when you're dealing with an athlete that has a mental health stigma, where do you find it starts, and what are some techniques or things that you're doing to help them overcome it?
Yeah. So it's highly specific to an individual, right? It's like treating anything else. Mm-hmm. So we have kind of 3 ways that psychiatrists intervene with any mental illness.
Okay.
So we call it the biopsychosocial model. So biologically, we have medications. If you're ill and need some medication for depression or a mood issue or anxiety or whatever it is, we have medications that we can use. We're medical doctors, so we can do that. Mm-hmm. What I find more often than not myself working with athletes is doing psychotherapy. So structured, time-limited talk therapy to help build that athlete's skills in dealing with whatever they're dealing with. And there's a number of kind of modalities in and around that. The third aspect, is social. So having that individual understand that they're not just an athlete. They have family, they have friends that love them, reducing isolation outside the home, getting them to do other activities that they enjoy and love, helping them transition in and out of sport. So that's kind of the third element wherein psychiatrists work. Mm-hmm. And so those are the things that we do, and we make those specific to each patient that we're working with. My patients happen to be athletes, but if you had seen a psychiatrist, those are kind of the 3 areas which they intervene.
Let me ask you this. When it comes to a lot of these athletes, do you find that the bigger the spotlight, let's say, the more the pressure? Is it an individual thing, or is it like, for example, if you're playing in New York, mm-hmm. does that would you think that or do you know, does that tend to really kind of snap that personality into that, does that what's the word I'm looking for? Does that cause them more grief, or is it like where if they're playing, let's say if you're a hockey player playing in Florida, mm-hmm. no one really knows who you are. Yeah. Really, does that play a big role in how this kind of goes?
That's an interesting question. I think it's highly individual, because you can have athletes who are looking to win a gold medal, and on that stage in that very moment that they need to perform, they thrive in those environments. Mm-hmm. And then you have athletes who hate the spotlight. Right. So there's a whole array of ways that athletes react to different situations. The question, I think, is an interesting one, because you have the case studies of like the Florida Panthers and the Toronto Maple Leafs, right? Where or even Montreal, which has this incredible presence all around it at all times. I think scrutiny, that ratchets pressure. And one of the things we're trying to do in our performance work with athletes is reduce the pressure, give them perspective on what they are actually doing on the ice, mm-hmm. where this job fits into their life in general. So to try and kind of loosen some of the pressure that they feel. So I would say, does pressure increase stress? 100%. Does stress to an extent improve performance in some points, and then there is a threshold at which too much stress reduces performance. So we want to find that optimal zone of arousal, is what we call it.
Are you seeing athletes now, taking that plunge and knocking on your door a little bit more often, or are you still would you say that a variety of your clients now are still being pushed by their team to come talk to you? Do you know what I mean? Like, are they taking that plunge and saying, "Hey, you know what? I got to see somebody. My mm-hmm. head's just not something's bothering me. I got." You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. So I see both sides, where teams would approach me and say, "Hey, could you have a chat with this guy or that guy for whatever reason it is, or gal?" And what I see more of is individual athletes saying that they need help and trying to get it independent of that team. Most teams have help in place, have like sports psychologists.
Okay, I wanted to ask
Yeah.
that too. If do you believe that these teams are doing enough? Are they doing their part internally, or is that still something that we need to get over and to help this movement along? Right?
I think teams have the very best interests at heart. Like I think they want what's best for their players from jump and kind of here on in. I think a lot of teams, in my experience, they don't know where to go. They don't know what to do. There's a lot of money on the line. There's a lot of social perception on the line. So I think there's a ways to go in working with teams to help improve the mental health of their players when they're playing and then into retirement.
Have you ever? Sorry, Mitch, I'll hold your question, but have you ever had an organization come to you and say, how can I phrase this, but almost kind of get you to, hey, I want you to help them for our benefit, not so much the patient's benefit? Has that happened?
That hasn't happened to me in particular, and I don't think it's an uncommon scenario for, again, I think that like every team has a physician group.
Right.
And they have people in place for help. And I think they genuinely have the best interest of the player at heart. And there's other pressures that everyone is dealing with, financial and otherwise, to help. I think, too, there's, like I said before, there's an internal pressure. Like players themselves want to play. They want to, at times, push through injury. They want to do what's best for themselves, and they feel financial pressure, too. That's another element that we often overlook, is players themselves need to work to make money.
Do you think that social media has caused more grief for these players of any caliber than before? So 20 years ago, obviously social media wasn't anywhere near what it is today. The most that a player would get is maybe a bad write-up in a paper, or a radio station might give a guy a hard time. And you heard those scenarios where, we don't listen to the radio, we don't read the paper. Well, now you got every social forum in front of you. Has that added to the point where you think that could be the number one culprit? Or is, because, I mean, I feel like they can't escape it. Like, in all honesty, here we are doing a podcast. We joke around. And if I've learned anything, I've listened to other podcasts where some sports athletes their personalities are so crazy. They don't know how to take a joke. And I'm not saying they should or they shouldn't. It is a crazy thing. So do you think that do you think that social media has played a huge role in the way they are? Or do you think that that they would still be this way, where they have these issues, maybe because of family, they've recently have children, and because I guess the spotlight. Sorry, I'm kind of ranting a little bit, but you have these athletes that come out of college or come out of their WHL or wherever. All of a sudden they're put under the spotlight of any kind. Then they find a girlfriend or something, and then they have a family. And then me and Dimitri, I just recently got engaged. He's married with a kid, and thank you very much. But what I'm saying is, I don't feel that pressure that these guys do. But does that add to that as well? Is it just life in general? Plus, they're constantly on a platform.
I don't know if the pressure amount has changed. I think the type of pressure and the forum in which pressure is built has changed. So, could you say that Doug Gilmour didn't deal with pressure playing for the Leafs? Yeah. Wendell Clark, Lanny McDonald, those guys were heroes in the city. They couldn't walk down the street without being recognized. And hey, Lanny, how's it going? Rocket Richard, you don't think he dealt with pressure? You're saying
it's almost relative.
Yeah, I don't think the pressure has changed.
The 2018 pressure is so much more than the 1990.
I just think, instead of being written up, like Rocket Richard was probably written up in the Montreal Gazette or whatever it was for having a bad game. I just think it's now he gets put into the Twitter sphere, and I think the modality of pressure and media has changed. I would argue that the amount of pressure hasn't changed. I think NHL players in this country have always been heroes,
right,
and have always been looked up at for a great example. I was 11 years old. I met Kelly Kissio, and I went up to Kelly Kissio. I was awestruck. He was my hero. Yeah. And I had never seen him. I didn't have Instagram. I didn't follow him on Facebook. I just knew who Kelly Kissio was, and from watching him on Hockey Night in Canada, seeing his face. right? The other thing, like TV viewership has changed and it's gone more into a digital forum. So I think the amount of eyes has been the same. I just think it's a different forum.
Now, going into the whole, like, what's your recommendation going forward? What do you think? What would you, if you could snap your fingers today and try to fix a lot of this? Like, what's the answer? Like, what is it? Is it something that's more? I know every person's a little different, but is it? Do you get them to just try to relax? Do you get them to just see the world in a different spectrum? Like, what's kind of your? I guess everyone's different, maybe.
Yeah, for athletes, every individual athlete's different. I think what I'm trying to change, and I think what is changing, this is already in motion, is for athletes to have the comfort and the ability to come and see someone like me, a psychiatrist who works in sports, or see a psychologist for an issue, and to have people talk about it open and honestly in the locker room. I think that's what needs to change. Is the discussion needs to happen internally and externally, and people need to be okay with it. And athletes and anyone who comes out with issues in the mental health domain shouldn't be punished for it, right? There's all these, like you mentioned, stigma, Dimitri. Yeah. I think that's what needs to change, is the recognition and the availability of resources, but also the ability of individuals to come out unabashedly and say, look, I have this issue or that issue.
Well, you know, it's funny, like even our podcast, we call it Real Locker Room Talk. And the whole thing about what Mitch and I discussed was to say, okay, we just want to talk about sports and in the banter that kind of everybody does, whether you're out in a pub, whether it's in a locker room, in your home, just the real talk. So are you saying that a lot of what needs to change is maybe just the culture of the topics being discussed in these respective locker rooms has to start incorporating what someone is feeling, what someone is going through?
Yeah.
And you know, maybe bringing it out from then, right? Is that, like, how much will that help, do you find?
Yeah, I think that there's a cultural shift abound anyways.
Right.
Like, I think people are becoming more comfortable discussing this. And I think there just needs to be more kind of brave, courageous individuals to bring these topics up in locker rooms and in the public and on the, you know, social media kind of forums. Where we're meeting and talking about things anyways. I think that's changing. My point of view is that we need to do more of that.
Yeah.
You don't want to like smash it down people's throats like we need to talk about mental health. This is a very serious issue. We're not going to be able to approach it that way. We need to look at it in the light of mental health is something that everyone to some extent at some point deals with. So let's talk about it. Let's put it on the table. Let's work through it.
You know, and I do want to ask you this question. We won't go too far into it, just because, you know, obviously we want to have you back talking about this specific topic.
Absolutely.
But in the world that the normal sports fan, when they see concussions, when we look at guys like Bugard and Belak and these, we assume when we watch TV and see what's reported, okay, this is all from concussions. But now hearing you, I mean, how much beyond concussions is mental health and the stigma behind it? How much more was it than just, okay, he had, you know, these players had some concussions on their heads.
Used drugs.
Sure. I think the pendulum has swung, and in my opinion, it swung too far to blame everything on concussion.
Right.
The number one risk factor for a mental illness after a concussion is having mental illness or substance abuse issues before the concussion. So the issue of mental health and concussion often become conflated in one.
Right.
But they can be separate issues. And we've swung this pendulum to think that we can blame everything on concussion. It's more complex than that.
Absolutely.
And it makes sense, right? It's an easy thing to tag things onto. You hit your head, so you get unwell. There's more to that picture in almost every case that I've dealt with.
Yeah.
There are cases in which you have a new onset diagnosis after a concussion, let's say like an anxiety disorder, and you never had anything previous to that. Those are more rare situations.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. Like I said, because I kind of wanted to gear that question to educate, you know, people more and say, okay, you know, okay, this person had a concussion. We got to blame everything on that, and really we're avoiding so much more that is going on.
I couldn't agree more.
You know, behind the scenes to say, hey, although this is a factor, you know, maybe we could have talked about it before. Well, I think this is I don't know if this situation is ever like, I'd love to talk about it even more. There's just so much
more there
with this as well. So really appreciate it. But is there anything at the end that you'd like to add? Something that maybe we haven't discussed that maybe our listeners really need to know about?
Well, I'm happy you guys have me on, right? Like we're in the locker room right now talking about things. That's why I'm so excited to come on this show and talk to you guys about these issues. And it's great that you're doing this. And I hate to use the word raise awareness. That's just like such an ad nauseum word that we always use it. But I would just like to say thank you guys for having me on and talking about these things.
And don't use big words too much, because Mitch, he's in my I don't know if he understands.
I know the word goat. That's I've been waiting. I was like, when's he gonna say goat?
When's he gonna mention your goat?
No, but that, you know what? Thank you so much. I gotta be honest. I watched that movie Concussion a couple weeks ago, and I know again, it's not that, but so many things going on, and you're absolutely. I couldn't agree more with you. I think you're totally right. Everyone's blaming everything on concussions right now, and I absolutely love where you're going with this, and I would love for you to come back and talk to us more about it, because I think you're literally just scratching. It's not even a scratch right now.
And Ryan, I mean, you deal with not just athletes. I mean, you said if anyone else came to your door, if you help them or lead them in the right direction. And for everyone listening, we are in our Facebook group, and obviously we're going to tag you when we write it. But if you do need to get in contact, if you do need something to talk about, we're going to leave Ryan's information and let us know exactly the channels and avenue that maybe someone who you've been battling anything, take the first steps in dealing with it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And it would be great if you can maybe talk to Jeff one-on-one. We believe that there's, he needs a little bit of guidance. He's had some issues with his girlfriend lately, and so he just He just wants to. What? You just want to talk. See how aggressive he gets. Just want to talk. He just needs somebody to talk to.
Put the cord down, Jeff. Put the cord down.
He just wants to talk to somebody.
Yeah. I told you to give him a damn loofah. What's the matter with you?
All right, well, we only got a few more minutes left, but let's get into this week's NFL talk. Dr. Ryan, thank you so much, and we want you to talk to us now. Give us your insight on Wild Card Weekend. Again, we're not Wild Card, but divisional playoffs here. We got, if you watched this week, let's talk quickly. You want to talk about debacles and falling over. What happened to KC?
Oh, my God, man. You know what? The Kansas City Chiefs, year after, you see the veins?
Wow.
I'm getting the veins
Yeah,
here.
I can actually see it.
Okay?
It's unbelievable.
I figured they'd crumble against the Patriots. We get it. Or the Steelers, whoever they're going to
Sure.
I get it. They're choke artists. But Tennessee? I mean, why do you do it every single time?
Hey, it's crazy. Crazy.
How do you throw a touchdown pass to yourself?
That was quite amazing.
Has that ever happened?
Yes, it
Where's your
has.
statistics?
Yes, it has.
It has happened.
Only one man up until Marcus Mariota was able to throw himself a touchdown. And that, my friends, was ba, ba,
Mr.
ba,
Perfect.
ba, 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 ba,
It was an amazing play, but you know what I really
He's a
like?
Mr. Perfect.
That kid, you know what? He's athletic, and he just
Yeah.
he
No
didn't
gravity.
need to do it, but he kept his head on a swivel. Most guys would throw that pass, look the other way, and whatever. He stayed with the ball, catches it. But the big debacle,
21-3, Mitch. Like in the second
that's
half,
what I'm saying.
In the
That's-
second half, the Chiefs can't score
absolutely.
one,
I
not
agree,
even a
man.
field goal.
Crazy.
I'm on just scrap this team. Just scrap them.
Oh, absolutely.
Next year out.
They're
We don't-
saying Alex Smith is probably going to be gone anyways.
Yeah,
so.
but is Alex Smith?
Was he the problem?
Is he the? What's
He's
a
not.
little bit,
He's
a
nor the
little
problem or the solution to that,
No,
to
exactly.
that situation.
I couldn't
Yeah.
agree more.
Yeah.
He's not the problem or the solution, but he's also not you know what they're doing? They've said for years he's a manager, right? He's a manager on
Sure.
the field.
Yeah, which is
Obviously,
a nice
they
way to
don't-
say you're not an athletic quarterback.
Exactly. That
You'd
we
never
don't trust
call,
you
you'd
with
never
the
call
ball.
Mariota a manager.
Yeah, it's like
Right.
saying someone that you just prefer not to date that they have nice personality.
I hate to say it. I think this comes down to Andy Reid. I think Andy Reid should get fired.
I think so too. Well, look, that O-line, I'm sorry, just not doing the job.
You know what? They got talent. They got the tight end. They got Hill. They've got Kelce. They got
The running game hasn't been a fact. Look,
Yeah.
Jamal Charles when
Hunt.
he wasn't injured, fine. Then they get Hunt, Charkandrick West to fill in for Charles, fine. The running game's fine. The defense has been known to stop people. I just don't get it. I don't get it.
It was all just.
They
bad.
should have moved to LA. What did we
They
do
should
taking
move-
the Chargers out?
So bad, and their fan base are so loud. They got everything going for them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
just
feel
don't-
bad for these fan bases that just live and die. Anyways, we already covered the Bills.
Absolutely.
We already covered the Bills.
The Bills and the KC, I think, are going to start crying together.
Holy smokes!
Like, I'd love to see what liquor consumption in that area has
Yeah.
risen to a whole new level.
A lot of Pilsners.
A lot
of Black Elks.
Absolutely. Let's get into this week's games. Pitts, Jaguars. What do you like? I mean, the Jags have the Pitts number, man. I don't want to take the Jaguars.
So
but I'm a guy. I love the stats, man.
Are you taking the Jags?
No,
Are you officially taking
No,
the Jags?
I'm going to take Pittsburgh.
Okay.
But, they say you can't beat a team 3 times during the season. Well, it happened last week.
It happened last
Exactly.
week, right?
I'm going to go
Who
I'm going to
said
go
that?
with Pittsburgh. A lot of people say
Has that been said?
Yeah.
It's been said.
Yeah, the people. The who's.
The who's.
The people are saying it, Dr. Ryan said.
I didn't
Yeah,
know
it's,
this thing.
it's everywhere.
They say it's impossible, but it's been being done. People are doing it. I don't know.
absolutely.
So,
Look,
it's not impossible.
so the thing about the Jags, the Jags and the Bills, if you look at it, they made the playoffs, but they're such an unpredictable team,
Yeah.
up and down.
Yeah.
Last week, whichever team was going to come out had their ultimate down game.
Yeah.
Like that was so this is what scares me. The Jags
I
have
see
their
what you're
down
saying.
game.
All right.
So are they going to all of a sudden because when the defense is on,
Could you call that game against the Bills an up game?
He's saying the Pittsburgh game will be an
the
update.
Pittsburgh game
That will be
an
their up game.
That might be their
Okay.
up. That
Yeah,
might be
okay,
their up
I see
game.
what you're saying. Yeah.
And I mean, officially, you know what? I'm taking the Jags.
You're going to take the Jags?
Screw it. Let's do it.
You're crazy.
It's officially down. I'm taking it. Why not? Everyone else is getting upset. Why can't this one happen?
Dr. Todd, what do you like?
Yeah, Steelers.
Steelers.
Pittsburgh,
Well, that was fast.
That was
Because
he's smart.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what it
Fine.
is.
But you
Yeah,
know
we'll
what?
see next week how smart I am with these picks.
Watch. If you thought that was fast, watch this. New England, Tennessee.
I would love for Tennessee to win.
I think we all kind of
I would
slowly
just-
bet for it.
a little bit.
it's not going to happen.
No.
No, there's no.
Could you
there's
imagine
no
a
way.
Jags Tennessee AFC final?
That would be.
Like,
Yeah.
is Goodell, like, he would kill himself, probably. Like, he would,
Unless
like,
he's masterminded.
Maybe.
The whole thing.
What?
He has that power.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, New England. I
It's
think
gotta
we can
be
all
LA.
confidently.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to jump to this game and then go to the last one, because I think the last
That's
game,
usually how it works.
Yeah, no, but I had them in different order. Philadelphia, Atlanta.
Yeah.
Who do you like?
Well, I actually like the Falcons.
You like
I
the
do. I
Falcons?
actually like whoever was going to play Philadelphia. The quarterback's going to be an issue. Sometimes teams that go on the bye week, it hurts them and it doesn't help them. I think this is something that does hurt them. I think Philadelphia is a team that just needs to keep playing.
Wouldn't the bye week help Nick Foles?
There's nothing for Nick Foles to help. Look, they got rid of him for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they only brought him back as a backup because he knows the system. It's just not enough. And the Falcons, they might have found their stride coming into the playoffs.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
You know, it is a different.
They're
season,
so unpredictable, right? They can put up
Yes.
huge numbers, but who knows what team's going to show up
Yeah.
offensively.
I'm going to
Yeah.
take the Falcons. Dr. Ryan Todd.
I'm going to take the Falcons. I don't think Philly can play without a quarterback.
I'm
I was
gonna
so
go-
devastated to see that. I mean, talk about alcohol consumption.
Yeah.
That city must have been devastated.
That was a Super Bowl team.
That was Super Bowl.
a
team.
bona
An
fide-
MVP
yeah.
who
It's
tough.
that was
sad.
devastating.
It
And
really is.
that's another city that has suffered. Like through Donovan McNabbs and just
absolutely.
air
And you know
balls.
what? And these guys are worse because they actually don't have a championship.
Isn't it?
Like, they have
Isn't it
nothing.
nasty? Like the Cowboys fans versus the the Eagles fans. Like they're nasty to each other.
That's a
But isn't that why
dangerous-
you watch sports though?
I love it.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Who are you taking on?
I'm gonna. You know what? I'm only taking Atlanta just because they're the hot team. I'm only taking
Yeah,
them
sure,
for that
that's fair.
reason. That's it. Minnesota Saints. I think the winner of this game will represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. I thought the Saints played unreal ball. Like I felt like they could score almost any play the other night. Like it was a little closer than it should have
NFL
been.
blitz
No,
style
but
scoring.
it's a
Yeah,
division.
exactly.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a divisional game though, Mitch.
I know,
right?
but
and
the Saints look good, man. They just look like they were moving the ball
they're
whenever and however
fluid.
they
They're
wanted.
clicking.
I said that too. I said the winner of that Panthers Saints game will go right to the final. I still believe it. I'm taking the Saints. And guys, Drew Brees is dialed right in.
When he's dialed, that team's good.
Absolutely.
Oh man,
That team is
And it
a
helps
very
that
good
those
football
guys
team.
are.
And I
running the ball.
got to say, I was worried about their defense, but maybe that's just, I don't know, maybe I just have it in my head. Their defense is playing fine. The offense is potent. But he looked so good, man.
You
No,
can't argue
when
that.
he's on, he's on. I mean, that's just the way it is. Dr. Todd, who do you like there?
Saints.
Saints.
Yeah.
So we're all in agreement. Saints all the way across.
Yeah.
Well, that's
So-
nice that we're not all fighting. That's good.
Yeah, well,
That's it.
there we go. There's something we
That's
can agree on.
And I would never take Minnesota in my life.
Yeah, the purple. Look, the purple team.
I do
Again,
think it
it's
would be neat if they could be in the Super Bowl though. Like just because like a home field at the
Take that
Super Bowl.
back.
I just.
Take
You
it
both
back.
are
Yeah,
Packers.
you're right.
Mitch,
I know.
Mitch.
I hate them. Don't get me
It's
wrong.
late.
but I'm
We're
just
getting
saying,
near the-
you're
we're
right,
getting
you're
near the
right,
hour.
You're right.
Getting
I haven't
tired,
eaten
you know.
my
I
sugar
love your
intake or
compassion.
whatever, yeah.
I love your compassion. But it's the purple team.
Thank you for stopping me there. I don't know what happened there. For a second.
I blacked
think
out.
Blacked out. Yeah. Well,
Where am I? Where am I? There's a planet on the wall.
Well, you know what? That's what we got for week 14. That was probably the most. I feel smarter. I literally feel much more smarter sitting here, having first off Dr. Ryan Todd next to me, and then hearing the things he was saying. Everything made sense.
Half of which you don't understand.
I did not. I'm
Any
going to be
word
listening
past
to this
9
podcast very slowly this week
Yeah.
and like Googling everything you said.
And that's just a deflection because I don't understand them
I
either.
was gonna say.
Right? So I'm just trying to make it look like it's you.
You can
not
Google
me.
everything but
yeah.
the black elk.
The black. Oh yes, I
Don't-
will not.
Google
I
the
promise you,
black elk.
I will figure this out.
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
The next
find
time,
the black elk.
The next time we're together, you know what? I'll get a Pilsner can
Yeah.
or a bottle.
Yeah.
Can or can it be?
It doesn't matter. Label's the same.
Yeah,
they didn't have
that's
the
right.
they didn't have the marketing play to change it.
Why mess
you
with
know?
a good thing, though?
It's perfect.
You know,
Yeah,
you know,
it's a perfect
why
label.
mess with a good
exactly.
thing?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, thank you again for coming
Thank
in.
you, guys.
Unreal. I love this podcast. I had such a great time. You look fantastic, I might add. I didn't
Thank
get
you,
to
man.
tell
Well
you.
put
Thank you.
together.
Very
Yeah, this is
good.
crazy.
We
We
didn't
need
even
to start
cover-
dressing up. I don't know, like this.
No, you guys look great.
Yeah, we didn't.
You guys
you
look
got a
great.
camera. Like,
Yeah,
what
this
was
is-
I wearing?
We didn't even cover the national championship.
Well, you know what's funny?
We need 30 more minutes, guys.
Yeah, 30 more minutes, but let's
Sorry.
do it real quick. Let's do it.
Let's do it
Let's
right
just
now.
Do it right now.
Whatever.
Let's just
Jeff,
talk about it
sit
real quick.
back and
Did you like
relax,
it? What did you think yesterday?
Oh, the backup quarter. I love the underdog, so I wanted Georgia to win that game.
Yeah.
And I'm so sick of Alabama winning every effing championship
Yep.
year after year. Nick Saban just knowing everything and he's such
He
a
does.
genius.
He is.
But
know
you
what?
can't. You got to give it
can't-
to him. Bringing the backup
The
quarterback,
freshman
throwing
off the
darts,
bench.
unbelievable.
Look, this guy.
Left-handed.
Now you see why.
he's a righty. He's throwing left.
Yeah, he's a righty. And he was throwing
How
left.
did Nick Saban know to tell him to
How
throw
did
with
he
his left
know?
hand?
Go to the left, kid.
It's Magnum. It's beautiful. That guy was throwing some heat, but what a coaching change. Or coaching,
13-0
sorry. What
at the national championship.
and he
game,
goes, "Look,
says,
man,
"Let's
you're
go."
out. We need a guy that can
Yeah.
throw." I mean,
Yeah.
that takes some serious guts. But this is a guy who's clearly confident in his decision making, win or lose. He just said, "No, this is we got to do it."
I think
this
that's
way."
it, right?
Is Alabama not the New England of NCAA?
They totally are. That's why I hate seeing them
5
win.
out of 9. They won the
100%.
last 5 national
Unbelievable.
championships, or
And
not the last 5, but 5 out
he's
of 9.
won 6 altogether. This is number.
Yeah, he
tied.
just overtook Bear Bryant.
That's right,
He
yeah.
has 6 now.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
This is unbelievable stuff.
Yeah.
Look, I was cheering for Georgia too. I have a
Yeah.
thing for the underdog, and it would have been nice. But the thing is that Georgia was playing well all year too. Like it's not. But I want to go back to something too with that controversy with Ohio State.
What?
When everyone was saying it should have been Ohio State instead of Alabama. You know what? I was on that train, but now looking how it pans out,
Yeah.
how can you deny why
Alabama,
a team like this should not be in
I
the
won't lie to
fold?
you. I knew Alabama was going to win yesterday. I will not lie to you. However, you can't go against this team until they fully develop. Like, yes, they lost 2 games this year, but they were just clearly better than everybody. They just were.
No, they're no
You know,
quit.
they're
Mitch.
just
They're no
there's something
quit.
about they literally I think could beat the Cleveland Browns. I truly believe that, or at least make it a very close
Yeah,
game.
it'd
Yeah.
be a tight game.
And
Yeah.
you know what? These guys are just dialed in, and you know what? When it comes to national championship, yeah, Nick Saban, there's no touching Nick
But
Saban.
they're like the Patriots in that way that once you establish that ethos that we can win it at the drop of a hat with
Absolutely.
our backup quarterback or with the Pats in the 4th quarter when we're
Right.
down, you're unstoppable. That psyche is just unstoppable.
Well, I got to say something about for Saban more than even Belichick. Belichick has been winning with Tom Brady. Okay, so he's always had that
I see.
cornerstone.
Yeah.
What I like about what Saban's doing is you got to think, typically 2 to max 4 years, they're staying at the collegiate level playing. Okay, that team, that 5 championships in 9 years, that team has changed. And so you have to retrain new minds, new people, new groups. I think it's fantastic, right? So Yeah, hats off to him, right? Like I said, we couldn't cover it, but
We can-
you know,
Well,
we'll
you know
do it
what?
some more.
I didn't know. Had I known Dr. Ryan Todd loved the NCAA, I would have brought it up sooner. I know we don't talk about it a lot. I love the NCAA, but
I'm
Yeah,
only
you just
coming
don't think they
back
should get
if we-
paid, you jerk.
Yeah,
Anyways,
they
I
shouldn't get. Don't start
I
this.
wanna-
Don't do this.
You know what? Let's
No.
get out of here.
Yeah,
let's
we
get
outta
can't
here.
do it. Thanks for coming on the
Yeah,
show,
thank you,
Dr.
guys.
Ryan
Thank
Todd.
you.
Follow us on
Awesome.
our channels at Real Locker Room Talk. Thank you, Macromind Media, for the website.
All of
We're
it.
going to post Dr. Ryan Todd's info on this episode. You'll be able to find him in the group. And until then, we're going to hit the showers.
Awesome. P.S. Can you come look at something? Like there's something growing on my. Are you that kind of doctor?
Are you going to take
I just wanted to look at. He's a doctor. He can look at something. I just wanted to check something.
Yeah, you want him to check what is that? Well, we are going to the showers. Did you bring classic
That's what I'm
gloves with
saying.
you?
Yeah, I brought some gloves.
Okay, I might need you to check something too. Then.
You guys both have the same thing? What's
I
going
think we
on?
got it from
I think
one
we got it.
another.
Yeah. It's weird. We got it right when we started coming to alchemy.
That's so weird. It's
think
like
I
that
got it,
leopard couch. You know what? It's cozy, but yeah.
How'd you feel?
Great, that was tons of fun.
That was awesome. That was really fun.
Yeah, I thought that was great too.
I just bought it. If it has